is a author, Hugh MacLeod. He once said, everyone is born creative. Everyone is given a box of crayons in kindergarten. Then when you hit puberty, they take the crayons away and replace them with dry, uninspiring books on algebra and history, etc. Being suddenly hit years later with the creative bug is just a wee voice telling you, I'd like my crayons back, please. Bula. I'm Meli Tuqota Jr., and I'm a designer. I am paid to think creatively. And it's funny enough, it's a problem, you know? It's quite taxing sometimes to always be expected to be creative, to always be expected to think of something new. In this noisy, hyper-connected, sensory overload world, it's easy to be overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed. As a designer, always looking for inspiration to spark creativity. It's easy to forget yourself, I fall sometimes into an easy copy-paste cycle, and so my design suffers as a result. So I'm continually seeking new ways to stay creative. Bear in mind that even though I'm talking about myself as a creative designer, don't let that stop you from relating. Anyone and everyone is, can be creative in their own respective fields. It's usually that today, when you say creative, you associate it with like creative designer, creative artist. But creative means using the ability to make or think of new things, involving the process by which new ideas, stories, etc. are created. So while I'm talking about myself and the problems of staying creative, this also can apply to you if you feel like you have the same problem. There are many ways of staying creative, but I wanted to dig a bit deeper, to take a good look at myself and figure out what drives me creatively. I found out, or still finding out, that what it takes is that I have to keep my inner child happy. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Holding on to my crayons, how I stay creative by keeping my inner child happy. What I'll do is I'll tell you my personal hurdles and solutions. Hope that at the end of this talk you could take away a few pointers and apply them to your life in your pursuit to being creative. Now, we hear this term mentioned a lot. But what is the inner child? So the inner child is your inner child, is the part of your personality that still reacts and feels like a child. It's the part of your psychology that informs your character as an adult. So UNICEF states that the early childhood years from birth through age 8 are formative in terms of intelligence, personality, and social behavior. So it's at that stage of your development that makes you who you are today. So our inner child represents our childlike capacity for, innocence, wonder, awe, joy, sensitivity, and playfulness. All characteristics which drive creativity in ourselves. But the problem I find with today's society, as depicted by the big giant red cross, is that it forces us to grow up once we reach adulthood, to put aside childish things, to, no funny games, cartoons are for kids, super serious, man, etc. But I've come to realize that if I want to stay creative, I don't really have to listen to that, or what society says about being a super serious adult, but rather stay in touch with my inner child. Keep an open channel, to listen to what he wants, make him happy. And when he's happy, I'm happy. And when I'm happy, I'm creative. So there are a few things that I've learned that helps this process. These are just a few of them. Find your personal mantra or motto. Yeah. So when I was a kid, as all kids do, the stuff that you find around the house, you make cool things like a toy. I used to take the pegs, and put them together and make a plane. I don't know if any of you did that. As I grew older, I still goofed around with different things. I still made cool stuff, mostly on a whim, though, mostly just because I could. There's this weird turning point a few years ago when I actually sat down and I thought to myself to actually try to create a personal mantra, which was born out of the desire to actually want to make cool stuff. So this came along. That's my personal mantra. Make cool stuff. I make a personal effort to work towards making cool stuff. My work satisfies part of that mantra, but I always try and set aside time to make cool stuff that I find, exciting for myself. And I find that my personal mantra aligns with how I think my inner child feels. So find your own personal mantra. Decide how it works with your inner child, and go with it. Surround yourself with like-minded friends. You know how you had, when you're a child, you had these friends and they'd make cool things, you go over to them and they're like, wow, that's a really cool drawing, or, great how you solved that algebra problem. I'm lucky to have friends who make cool stuff and who share my passion. They push me to excel in my own craft. They always keep me motivated. I've got a buddy named Albert Rolls. I really like his drawings. He's got this kind of loose, sketchy feel going on. As you can see, it's Spooktober for him. He's on his current October Halloween drawing thing. But I really like seeing what he comes up with day in, day out. I got another friend. His name is Duke Lauelevu. I really like his stuff. He's got this great way of drawing Polynesian women to make them, ethereal and yet strong and beautiful at the same time. He's got this awesome way of doing the tattoos. I've got friends like this that make all this cool stuff. And the funny thing that I found about having friends like this is that people that I know personally are actually a better motivator than strangers you admire. When I see Duke, doing these practice sketches and studying different varieties of art and posting it online for us to see, it motivates me. It actually, it makes me think, if this guy that I know can make cool stuff like this, for us to practice, perhaps I can be just a little bit as cool as him. So that's the thing. Find those friends in your life that have the same effect on you, and stick to them like glue. This is a funny one. Daydream more. Yeah, I'm sure all of us have done that. A few of you might actually be daydreaming now. Your mind starts to wander when the talker drones on and on. I daydream. I find it relaxing. And the funny thing about daydream is that this is the time when my ideas start to take seed and germinate. So it's like when, relax and doing simple activities. It's weird. This is the time when your coolest, your craziest, your bestest ideas will actually pop out. You know who else daydreamed? This lady, J.K. Rowling's. She used to daydream at a secretarial job, and she had got fired for it. But her severance check allowed her to write a little idea that she had while daydreaming, so she wrote this book, Harry Potter. So I don't feel bad about daydreaming. I don't tell myself, hey, snap out of it, man, focus. No, I just let it happen. You never know what ideas may pop out. But of course, daydream responsibly, not while you're driving or something. Don't be afraid to be creative. The thing with kids is that they don't think too much about their creativity. They just express it, and it makes them happy. They don't worry about being judged the way adults do. Kids just follow whatever pops in their head and create whatever they want. We as adults, too often we get judged harshly on ideas we put forward that are too out of the box, too outlandish, and dismissed on the basis that it probably won't work. After a while, we begin to be afraid of voicing any ideas at all. So, years ago, I was working at a design firm, and I was working with Albert, my buddy. And, he'd draw these silly drawings. I'd look over his shoulder and laugh, and, okay, that's kind of cool. One day, the boss comes to me and says, hey, we need an ad for FMF Thumbs Up Potato Chips. So the creative guys sat down and said, threw a few ideas back and forth. Okay, the usual kids eating chips while looking cool trope. And then Albert comes along and says, he says, guys, what if we actually got the thumbs and made them actual characters, like literal thumbs up guys. I was like, that's, all right, we'll give it a shot. You know, what the hell, why not? So me and him, we sat down and we hashed out the ideas, hashed out the plot and characters. So he drew it and animated it, I composited it together. And as we were working on this TV ad, at the back of my head, I was like, I wonder what the client's going to think. This is really goofy. So at the end, I was pleasantly surprised. Apparently, the client shared our love for quality, timeless storytelling, and gave it a 2 thumbs up. So that's why it aired. So remember, sometimes the most outlandish ideas end up becoming the idea that saves the day. My last point is try new things. So again, at this place that I used to work at, Art and Soul, I was hired as a print designer. So all the work I've only ever done was for magazines or newspaper ads or posters, very static graphic design. One day the boss says, hey, we got this ad that needs some graphics to pretty it up, some video graphics. So you want to give it a shot? I said, yeah, sure. I know nothing about motion design, but yeah, I didn't say that. I just said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I got it. I got you, boss. So he told me like in the afternoon. When he left, same time, Google. I Googled how to create a camera using this. I didn't even know the program. I had to look up what program do you use to generally animate graphics on TV. So I had to look up the camera, how to Google like making layers and all this really technical stuff. I knew what I wanted in my head, but I just didn't know how to put it on not paper, put it on computer. And so I struggled and I worked all night. Did not sleep, one wink. The next day till the midday, and then I showed it to my boss. He was very happy. I was very sleepy, very happy, but very sleepy. So from this, I've found something that I love, motion design, and I feel blessed to have grown in this field. So from then on, I've started to create more and more really good work, including like winning. I made this ad. I don't know if you guys remember this one. The Chow Tomato ad, which won the Best Animated TVC in 2008, the Journalism Awards. So I've done work for both big local clients as well as international. So when you try out new things and you learn from it, you have multiple avenues to draw inspiration from. And we'll always find new and interesting ideas. And you never know, that new thing you learn or try out may lead to big and better opportunities in the future. So, the thing about me, I was, when I was in high school, I actually didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I like drawing-ish, so I draw on my exam papers, especially in maths when I didn't know the answer, I drew instead. Sorry, maths teacher, wherever you are. So I was always drawing, and much to my mom's dismay, she was like, hey, right, why don't we try and put you in accounting? So she put me in accounting. I failed at that. I couldn't get any balance sheets balanced. No, it's not funny. I tried. I really tried. In 3 years of accounting, I could only balance it twice. And the first one was from copying my friend. It was terrible. I felt so stupid. So my mom gave up and said, all right, we'll try you in law because your granddad's a lawyer and you're a big mouth. So, there's a connection somewhere there down the line. So I tried it, and I ran away from class. Sorry, Mom. It's the books. They didn't have any pictures in it. No, for real. So my mom threw her hands up in disgust. I was like, okay, this is the last chance. We're going to put you in graphic design because you're always drawing those pictures. So I'm going to put you there to graphic design. So 13 years on, here I am. I'm glad I kept drawing. I'm glad I kept an open channel with my inner child. I am who I am today because I listened. Of course, I'm not perfect. As an adult, I still make mistakes. I don't pretend to know all the answers. I still forget now and then to relax, to chill, not to get too overwhelmed by what today has to offer. I'm guilty of focusing too much on bills, ins and out of traffic and work, basically life itself. But every now and then, a tiny voice in my head says, hey, got any crayons? To which I always try to reply, you know what? Yeah. I actually do. Naka.